So I wanted to talk to you about mala before we start our regular chapter. You know what mala I was talking about is this one. Have anybody seen this mala in their house? Right? So what is this mala for, right? When we talk about mala, do mala, what is it? Let's talk about the significance of this mala. So how many beads are there in this mala? Anybody know?
100.
Yes, Ane?
108.
108, you were exactly right. So there are 109 if we count the top one, but the circle one are 108. So there are 109, that is the last one. Sometimes it's a bead, sometimes it's no bead, it's only 108, and they just give a tassel on the last one. So it is 108. So why are 108 beads in there? Why do they want us to repeat 108 times any japa that we do? Yes, Sia?
I'm not sure if this is right, but I've heard that there's like 108 gods.
You are right. You are right. Some of the reasons, there are many reasons why there are 108, and different religion has different reasons why there are 108. And you know, you will be surprised that every single religion, hi Nia, every single religion has a mala. You know, even in Christianity, Judaism, Islam, every religion has this mala in their religion to do japa, right? So it's common between all the religions. So what is the commonality on this mala, right? So there are many different reasons why there are 108, right? There is a mathematical reason, there is a psychological reason, there is a lot of religion takes it differently, and different religion pictures it differently. So I will go over a couple of them just to let you know why are there 108. So one reason Sia gave you, because there are 108 gods, so they actually put 108 gods together and you worship them and you jap them, right? So in Hindu religion, in Vedanta, it starts with, this is the entire wholesome of your life, right? Of your human life. So what happens is, when you count one is a solar system, like one is the solar part of the, solar and lunar. There are two parts of the life that we go through, right? So one is the solar part, 0 is a lunar part, and 8 is representing the entire nature. So it is like the wholesome of the whole existence of us. That's what it represents. So it goes from solar, lunar, and the nature of the existence, right? So that's one. What? Okay. And if somebody is not mute, can you mute so the voice doesn't echo? Now, in Buddhism, it is actually counted as we have 108 earthly desire. So when we say worldly desire, so we have 108 worldly desire. Now what is the desire they talk about is like, it's not desire, it's the inheritance that we get, right? Ignorance, the arrogance, the obsession about something, violence, all these things that we do, all the behaviors that we do. So there are 108 desires in our human life. So what we do is, when we jap, we are actually are getting free from those desires. So when we do jap, we are getting free from those 108 desires that we have, worldly desires that we have. So that's why it represents 108. Then there is actually a story about 108 beads in this mala. So what happens is, and this is our our religious story that we go over, like how we talk about Mahabharata and Ramayana. So what happened is, when Shiva was there, his wife Sati, who is Parvati, right? So Sati was his wife, and what happened is, Sati's father was Daksh, Raja Daksh, which did not get along with Shiva. He did not like Shiva because he was not a prince. He was not he did not had a kingdom. He was like, sitting over on the top of Himalayas and just putting like the bhasma on his body. He doesn't have crown. He was not a king. So he did not like that his daughter got married to a person who was a saint, who doesn't have kingdom, who is not a king, who doesn't have wealth. So he did not like him at all. So one day, Daksh Raja got into, he made a big yagna. At that time, in olden days, when they used to do yagna, it was a big event, big festival. All the kingdoms, all the kings used to come in that yagna and help them do be present in that ceremony. So when Raja Daksha did this big yagna, he did not invite Shiva because he did not like Shiva. So he said, I'm not going to invite my son-in-law Shiva in this yagna, which the daughter Sati got very upset. My father did not invite my husband. He's not respecting my husband. So he came, and the yagna, he jumped into the fire of that yagna. She jumped into the fire of yagna, Sati did. So when Sati got into the fire, she died, right? Shiva got really, really upset. So Shiva came, and Shiv actually carried Sati and did this Tandav Natra, that is said a dance of Shiva, which was very, like, he was ready to destroy the whole world, entire creation he was ready to destroy. So when he carried Sati and did that dance, Sati's body part kept falling at the coast of India. So every body part that fall was divided. There were 108 body parts that got fall on the earth, and every body part has a temple right now in India, which is known as very sacred temple of Shakti. Sati is representing of the power, the Shakti, the women Shakti that is there. So there are 108 temples of Sati. So one place the hand fall, one place the something else falls. So every mandir has one part of the body of Shakti, and when you visit all together, when you go, like all this pilgrims that people do in Hindu religion, that they always go to that Shakti Mat, and they go visit this 800 mandir in India and finish the Shakti Mat. So that also represents the power of Shakti, the Shakti in this mala by 108. So each bead is a power that gives us, the power comes in us when we do the japa. So that's one of the reasons. Then another reason was that Sanskrit, all the Upanishad and everything is written in Sanskrit, right? Sanskrit vocabulary has 54 alphabets, and it has a 54 female version and 54 male version. So that makes it 108. So that's also another way to say there are 108 beats in this mala. One more reason is that there is Upanishad are written, 108 Upanishads are there. So that's also a reason that there are 108 Upanishads that we carry, and we do the 108. Now one big thing was that mathematically from sun to earth, the distance between sun and earth is 108 times sun's diameter. So the distance 108 times of earth's diameter. Let me tell you again. So sun and earth, the distance between sun and earth, the diameter will be 108th time of the sun's diameter. That's the distance between sun and earth. And the same thing happens in the moon. So the distance between earth and moon, so if you put sun's diameter over earth's diameter into the distance, will come across 108. The same thing happens 108 times. The same thing happens between moon and earth. So it is also mathematically that it's impact us, the rays of earth, the sun and moon impacts us that way. So it's 108th time. So mathematically also it's a very important number for this. So average distance of sun and moon to the earth is 108 times their respective diameter. So that's another fun fact for having 108, why it is so important. Now the last thing, So sun and earth, when it is distance between each other, what happened is they are divided into 27 sections between sun and earth. So there are 27 sections, which is known in Hindi, in Sanskrit and Hindi we say nakshatra, and each nakshatra have 4 steps. So between sun and moon, when they rotate, it takes 108 steps, because you count 27 nakshatra and 4 steps. So 4 into 27 is 108. So that's the distance that is known as that is also that influence how much the sun influenced the nature of the earth, the existence of earth. So when earth exists, human exists, right? So this is all talking about the existence of earth. Now, with all that said, that there is so many things that relate to this mala, but the biggest thing I wanted to put in front of you is just the bhakti that you bring in when you do japa, right? So all these things are important. There is astrologically importance also, because there are 12 houses where each planet moves, and there are 9 planets. So 12 into 9 is 108. So astrologically also it's important, because it's 12 homes and 9 planets, and that's how it goes around, and 12 times 9 is 108. So there are many things, right? Sometimes when you go to a pandit, who looks at your astrologically looks at your kundli and all those things, they say, okay, you need to do japa of Buddha, right? Your Jupiter is very not good. You do japa of Jupiter, and then you do japa of Jupiter. So that is related to this, how they count the length and everything. So you do 108 times the mantra of Jupiter, and that's how you go for the astrologically the importance of Hindu astrology. Now, with that said, what do we do, like japa, right? So how do we use this mala? Let's talk about that. We know 108 beads are there. How do we do it? And what's the significance in our life to do it, right? Why do we do japa? So I will tell you that this one, the tassel, is always known as either guru bead. So the first bead is guru bead. So when you do a mala, you actually put it in between your middle finger and your third finger. So this is how you always do. You don't put it in the first finger. Why you don't do it in the first finger? Because in Indian culture, the first finger is like argumental, right? We are arguing, or we are argumental on that. So the first finger is not being said a right thing to do. Like if you are arguing with somebody, or you are putting finger on somebody, like that's how it is represented, right? So we put it in the middle of the middle finger and last finger, and then we actually move it with the help of thumb. So we put the thumb, and with the help of thumb we move the mala like this, and we do every bead we say something. So let's say if we say Om Namah Shivaya, right? So every bead we start with Om Namah Shivaya, 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 and we go all the way around, and it comes to the end like that. So we did the japa of Om Namah Shivaya 108 times. So when you come here, you don't go cross the guru bead. You don't go the next to the guru bead. What you do is you turn it around and go backwards, and then start again. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, if you want to do the second one, right? So that's how you do it. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, the second one. Then you reach to the end. When you reach to the end, you again don't cross the thing, you actually turn it around and you start all over again. That's how you do it. Now why do we do it? Why is it important? Now we learn how to do it. Why is it important? And one more thing. Why is it in the middle finger and the third finger? Is just because it has been known that third finger, one of the nerve goes to the spine, and actually that helps in concentrating. So that's why we put it in the middle finger, is because it's for concentration. So it helps in concentration. So that's why we do it in the middle two fingers and then go around, right? So those are the big, that's how we do it. Now, to go above and beyond on this one, it's all the mathematically and earthly desires and all these facts behind it is good to know, but why do we do it, right? So this helps in, first of all, taking the name of God, right? When we do bhakti, to take the name of God, this help you to sit down and be concentrate and be focused on it, right? Like if I tell you take the name of God, you will say, okay, let me take it. So you will say, okay, I will say Om Namah Shivaya, right? We said one time Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. I will say, okay, let's do it 108 times. Okay, you will say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. How will you count it? Right? There is no way to count it. The other thing is what it helps you concentrate on it rather than counting on numbers, right? Otherwise you will say, okay, count the numbers 108 times Om Namah Shivaya. How will you count it? You will say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, or you will put a stick on it. So your mind will start taking your whole thing towards the counting rather than to saying the name of God, right? So the concentration switches when we start counting it. So this is just a mean to help us, go and do japa, and what it helps us concentrate, right? So that's why we use this. So it doesn't take, when you have, in olden days, it was a big event when a teacher gives a mantra to shishya, right? So all the students used to get a mantra from Guru, right, to japa. And that was the Guru mantra that they should have it all the time. So whenever they want to concentrate, they use that mantra and they do the mala and concentrate. Now for us, how does it help? How does it help is, as a student, you guys have a lot to focus and concentrate, right? It's not just that you have so many things going around in your life, even more than what we used to have in our life, right? We used to just have friends and to play. Now you have so much digital exposure that you have so many things, you know so many more things than we used to do, right? So you have a lot of things that you use your mind to. You use your mind to study, you use your mind to, listen to the music, you use your mind to see how dances goes, or you use your mind to, like, so many things you have to occupy. Like every TikTok has different story to tell, right? So you have so many things. So your mind gets divided so much than it's supposed to, right? It cannot go to the ultimate, you cannot focus, right? So the focus goes away. Nowadays, it's not your fault. It's how the days change, the things are changing in the world, right? So it's very important for you to have this focus, the concentration to build in you. And what does this do is, this one mala, even if you do, it helps you focus and concentrate. So it takes like about, I would say, if you just do Om Namah Shivaya, it takes about 1 minute? But that 1 minute, you can focus and concentrate. That's why it's so important for us to have this practice going on for bhakti as well as for concentration, right? So that's why I said, whenever something, it's good to have a practice every day, do just one mala in the evening or morning. But if you cannot do it, at least for special days, make sure you do one mala for any god. That will help you concentrate and focus on the things, right? Good. A lot of teaching on mala, but I want to make sure that you guys understand. I told you, one day just do mala, but I didn't teach you how to do it or what to do it. So you get mantra, you can do any mantra, whatever you want, right? Om Namah Shivaya is one of the famous mantra that is the smallest one, and do it. Or you can take Krishna's name, or you can do Vasudeva Sutam Devam, that whole shlok you can do in the mala. It might take more than a minute, it might take 10 minutes, but you can do that. So there are so many things, whatever you want to take God name. People used to do Ram, 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 Ram. taking Ram's name, Krishna, 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 Krishna's name, right? It's always been, it's going to be always helpful to you guys. Good deal? You got it? Okay, so let's move on to our regular, back to chapter, oh, you are running out, 10 minutes remaining. What? Okay guys, we might have to redo the Zoom again. So guys, make sure you come back on the Zoom, same link, and we will go on, right? So it's gonna turn off in few minutes. We will start again and you guys join in again. So we are doing chapter 2 again, back to chapter 2, and we have done till 65. Actually we started 66, but we didn't finish the whole explanation. So we're gonna start to 66, but before that, just to give you a little background. So here is where we are so far. So what happens is, now Krishna Bhagavan is asking about, Arjuna is asking to Krishna Bhagavan that, talk about Sthita Prajna guy, right, who has this wisdom in, who has stabilized wisdom, right, who knows this thing and who realize it and who actually experience it in every day. So the person who knows everything and he is living with it, so stabilized. Hey buddy, your battery is 10% remaining. Can you go get the charger please? Thank you. So who is this, what are the characteristics of this Sthita Prajna person? Yes, Sia.
I have a question.
Yes.
What line are we on?
We're gonna be on 66, but I was just giving you guys a background of before where we start, just a little bit summary, and then we're gonna go to 66. Okay, so so what happens is that then he asked what are the characteristics. So there were 2 characteristics that Krishna Bhagavan gave, right? Yeah, Risha.
The characteristics where he give up desire and complete satisfaction.
Yeah, complete satisfaction in the self. Great job. So those were the two things that Krishna Bhagavan gave as the characteristic, and then further on, Arjuna started asking how does this person interact with the world, right? So one thing you guys have to remember, how do we interact with the world? Anybody can give me the answer? What do we use to interact with the world?
Your body, mind, and
Your senses, right? So outward is the 5 senses that you use to interact with the world. Right? So the 5 senses that we use to interact the world. Anything else that you use to interact with the world, it's the 5 senses, right? And that 5 senses give the response to mind and your intellect, and that's how you interact with the world, right? So basically what Arjuna is asking, how do you use these senses? How does this Sthita Prajna person uses this 5 senses to interact with the world, right? So the biggest thing that he is not asking how do you interact with the world. If you break down the question, how do they interact with the world, is like how these 5 senses interact with the world, right? So that's what he is asking for that perfect person, right? We all interact with this, with the use of our eyes, ears, nose. That's how we interact with the outside world, right? But what he is saying is how does this perfect person can interact with the world, right? So now when we have these senses, what does it gives us? Strong likes and dislikes, right? So we get, because of these 5 senses gives us strong likes and dislike. So when what this Krishna Bhagavan says, this Sthita Prajna person arises above these strong dislikes and likes, right? The person arises from strong likes and dislikes. That's how he interacts with these senses to the world, right? So far we got this going on, right? We got that answer from Krishna Bhagavan in previous shlokas. Now what happened is, one thing you guys have to always think about it, how to go arise from these likes and dislikes. How do we arise from this above? Like, how can we take all these dislikes and likes and not react to those things, right? I like this person so much, but I don't like this person. I don't want to be friend with this person because this is not a good person, right? So that's where likes and dislikes. I love to eat these sweets. I don't like to eat these sweets, right? So all these things start coming from our senses, right? And that's how we actually interact with the world and we arise. So now, how can I go above these things, right? It's going to be such a boring world if I don't like something to eat, right? If I don't do these things, it will be such a boring world. How can I go about this, right? So that's our question. Now what happens is, when you go above all these, so we talk about, like, let's talk about these situation, right? So likes and dislikes brings us sorrow and happiness, right? So then likes and dislikes leads to sorrow and happiness, right? So now what happens is, sorrow and happiness comes out of our senses, right? Because if you look at it, it actually comes out of our 5 senses, how it goes. Now, I would say I am sad in certain situations and I'm happy at certain situations, right? So that brings my happiness and sadness depending on the situation. Do you think our sadness and happiness depend on the situation? Do you think it's right that, if I say that, oh, if, my sadness comes because I want to eat this cookie and I don't get it, so if I don't get this cookie, that's the sadness. Because of the situation arises that I cannot eat this cookie. Is that situational? So let me give you the answer to it. I think you guys got confused. If that situation creates sadness, then it should have created to every single person in the world, right? So that sadness of not eating cookie would create sadness to every single person in the world, if that's the situation dependent, right? Does that cause sadness to every single person in the world, not eating that particular kind of cookie? No, right? It doesn't. Why? Because the sadness is not situational, right? Sadness is what? It's in your mind, how your senses respond to your mind and intellect. That's how the sadness starts, right? I can be happy on getting good grades, right? Is the entire world get happy of getting that grade? No, right? Am I going to be happy on getting a science grade good right now at this moment of my life? No, it doesn't matter to me, right? So that situation is not happy for me. It's happy for you because your senses is making you feel happy, because your mind and intellect react what senses respond to you. So one thing you have to always keep in mind, the situation doesn't make you sad or happy, right? So it doesn't matter what situation you are in. You cannot be sad, right? It's not universal law that this situation will make me happy or this situation will make me sad, right? Let's say if I am earning so much money, right? Is that situation makes you happy? So then everybody in the world who is earning so much money has to be happy. Is everybody happy? No, right? So, and then if I'm poor, really, I'm so sad that I'm so much poor. I have, is that much money that I'm not getting is making everybody sad? You will see so many poor people are so happy, right? Even the person who doesn't have food to eat the next day, they don't even worry about next food. They are happy that they got food right now, right? The glass of milk that I don't like, probably that same glass of milk, another kid will be happy with that, right? It could be likes for a glass of milk for me, but it could be dislike for you, right? So every situation doesn't give you sorrow and happiness. It's not about situation, right? Keep that in mind in all your life. It's not about the situation that makes you happy and sad. It's about how your mind. Oh, Krishani, can you start again?
New meeting.
The Zoom call.
Yeah, just hit new meeting.
Now everybody will start again, right?
I think you can turn off
No,
the
they have to
waiting.
come back.
Okay. Yeah, we have to admit everybody in,
I
right?
think you can turn off the waiting.
It's okay, don't do it.
Okay, guys. Thank you, Risha, for coming in.
Wait,
Admit all. Yeah. Okay. Okay, sounds good. Thank you guys for coming in again. So it's not the situation that makes us happy. So now we have to think about what goes. So let's go reverse direction, right? So sorrow and happiness depends on likes and dislikes. Likes and dislikes depends on our 5 senses, and then 5 senses respond to our mind and intellect together. We can, work them together, and that's where the whole end thing comes, right? So let's keep in mind that's what we learned so far, right? Okay, so we're gonna take the next slok and talk about it. So there are 2 things that Krishna Bhagavan said in previous slok, that what we have to do is we have to take all these things with no attachment and no repulsion. No attachment and no repulsion. That's what Krishna Bhagavan said, like raga and dvesha. No raga and no dvesha. So we take all these likes and dislikes, we need to react with no attachment and no repulsion, right? Sunny, you had a question?
What does repulsion mean?
Like, how you...
Disgustingness.
what is it? No, tell me.
No, it wasn't a good comparison.
So what, you get attached to something, but you hate something, or you get away from something. That's repulsion, right? So you get attached to something, like you get attached, oh, this is so good, I want to have this. But then the other thing you said, oh, I'm never gonna have this.
That's repulsion.
That's repulsion, right? So attachment and repulsion are opposite to each other. So anything, what Krishna Bhagavan said in the previous slok, that let's not get attached or let's not get repulsed. So same way, attachment comes with likes and repulsion comes with dislikes. So what he is saying, that do all your worldly activities, do everything, but don't attach to it or don't get away with it, right? So these are what. So he said no likes and no dislikes. Be strong and no strong likes and dislikes. Now, first he gave the answer in slok 66, that what happens if we don't practice this. Then he's going to tell us how to practice it, right? So now we're going to go to the next step, next slok, which is verse 66, and talk about what happens if we don't use no attachment and no repulsion, right? If we are attached to the things, if we like things and we dislike things, what happened to us? So let's read what he says about it. Okay, so Nishi, would you read slok 66, Raja?
Should I start?
Yeah, let's go. So everybody, guys, slok 66, verse 66, okay, brother? Everybody open the book. Chapter 2, verse 66.
Nasti buddhi ayuktasya.
Nasti buddhirayuktasya
Nacha yuktasya bhavana.
na cha yuktasya bhavana
Na cha bhavatya santir.
Na cha bhavayata shantir.
Asantasya kuta sukham.
Ashantasya krutam sukham. Now we're going to do all together. Nashti buddhira yuktasya na cha yuktasya bhavana na cha bhavayata shantir na shantisya kuta sukham. Very good. Very good. So what happens in this shlok? God says what happened when we don't do these all the practices that he mentioned about non-attachment, right? So what happens? Now he gives us, I think I already explained you a little bit, and in our Jeopardy I actually asked this question to you guys, which I think if I remember it, Krish team got it and they didn't answer it. Was it right?
I think.
Let me tell you if you will remember this. So what happened, he says that understanding on the wisdom or any knowledge. Now you can talk about as a God or any knowledge, right? He is actually not talking about worshipping or putting some God in front of you and worship it. He's talking about what should a normal human being should do, right? So it is talking about us, right? So make sure you take it in any way you want to take it, either the spiritual way or even focusing on your own goals. You can take either way on this slope, right? So what he says is understanding is not stabilized until the person is not focused. So he says anything for you to get stabilized in yourself, you have to, first thing is focus. Number one thing is focus. So if you want to stabilize anything in yourself, the first thing comes is the focus, right? Now he says that the person who is scattered, not focused, right? Who is scattered everywhere, which in nowadays we all are, right? It's very important to think about us like that we are scattered everywhere, right? So the person who is scattered are not steady, right? The person who is not focused, they don't have clarity. So if you don't have this, you will not have a clarity about yourself or anything what you want to do. So there is no clarity if you are not focused, right? So I want you to think about the goal that you have in your life, the ultimate goal. So if you are not focused, you don't get clarity. If you are not cleared, what happens is you cannot meditate, means you cannot put your mind, you cannot think, you cannot contemplate on it, right? Anything that you want to do. So you cannot do meditation, which I put meditation as thinking, making decisions, right? Making decision is kind of meditation. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking about. We will take it that way. So then when you don't have a strong thinking or concentration, what happens is the peace doesn't come. So there is no peace. And without peace, there is no, anybody can answer? Happiness. I'm trying to write in a way you all can understand. So now God gave us the path to see how the things can get successful and how the things cannot get successful. When you put a goal in there. So you can put a goal on the top. If you don't have a clarity, you're not going to meditate or think or concentrate on that goal. And if you don't concentrate, you will never meet a peace, because in your mind it's going to be, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that. It's going to keep going. It will not stop, right? And then when the peace doesn't come, you will not achieve what you want to achieve. So you will not achieve happiness, right? So the bigger goal, if you look at the ultimate goal we decided, right, in the beginning of the classes, ultimate goal is everybody wants to achieve happiness, right? The satisfaction. So to reach here, you need peace. And to get peace, you need to have meditation or contemplation or thinking over it. If you, to get this, you have to have focus and clarity. So go above. If I want ultimate goal is happiness, right? So what I need is peace. How I can get peace is when I meditate or concentrate on it. And how I can concentrate? If I have clarity or focus on it. That's how I can get the happiness at the end, right? So it is a stepwise process. He told us in this shlok that how do you get it. Now, think about what God have defined happiness as and what do we define happiness as. Because for us, peace doesn't go to happiness, right? Sometimes it doesn't. So I want to make sure that you understand what is the definition of happiness, because that's where we actually get a lot of confusion. So let's get to the piece of happiness. So what is happiness? We actually has defined many times, but I want to define one more time. For us, happiness is when the sense organ of our body meets the object, right? And when it meets the object, we produce a flash of pleasure, right? So again, going back to that cookie example. So when the tongue of mine get in contact with that cookie, right, the pleasure that I got is named as happiness for me, right? That's the human definition of happiness, right? Now think about it, that this pleasure of this flash of pleasure that we get, right? Does it goes down when the cookie is not around? There is no pleasure, right? So it goes down, right? Does it, the happiness comes up when the cookie is around and our tongue touches the cookie, right? It goes up, it goes up and down, right? Does it go low when it is the last cookie that I'm eating? It goes high when it is a full pack of cookie, right? So this happiness goes up and down, right? It doesn't stay forever. So what us define as happiness goes up and down, goes low and high. It doesn't stay stable all the time, right? Now, what God happiness is, what is He talking about happiness here? He's talking about something that stays forever. It doesn't depend on the object. It actually stays forever with us, right? So, any of those things that you think right now, think to yourself, anything that can give you overall every time happiness 24/7. Is eating cookie 24/7 will give you equal amount of happiness? No, right? So is anything like wearing a certain kind of outfit that you love so much, you like so much, would that give you happiness forever? No, right? So this happiness that we define in a regular layman language, that is not forever, right? What Bhagwan is defining happiness here is forever. That is with peace. Whenever there is a peace in ourselves, inside us, that's the happiness that he's talking about. So that cookie can give us a very small amount of peace, that's the happiness, right? But it goes up and down. But when the peace comes to us forever, that's the happiness that God is talking about. So for that peace, we have to have a concentration and have to have focus, right? So do not find the focus and concentration on the happiness that we define that goes up and down, less and high, sometimes at full, sometimes at not. He's not talking about that happiness here. He's talking about the peace that we get, internal peace, internal happiness, not from outside object in the world, right? So that's how he's talking about here. Now, I also explained one more thing to you guys, that when we talk about peace, right? I actually explained it in last class when we were doing the class, normal class. Peace is only of one kind. You guys remember? But disturbance, that is an opposite of peace, are of many, many kinds. Right? When you get peace, it's only one kind of peace. You cannot explain peace differently. Right? But you can explain disturbance differently. Right? The new TikTok coming, the new TV show coming, that's different kind of disturbance, right? Your feeling of anger, your feeling of love, your feeling of arrogance, your feeling of ambition. There are so many different kind of disturbance that comes, right? But can you define peace of many, many different kind? There is no different kind of peace. It's only one kind of peace, right? So it's only one kind of happiness. It's not different kind of happiness. So when we talk about happiness as a different kind, we are actually talking in worldly objective language that, oh, okay, according to this object, I get this kind of happiness. According to this object, I get. So when you take object out, right, there is no object. When you get internal peace, that's where the happiness comes. And that's only one kind of happiness because there is only one kind of peace, right? So that's what he says. He says, you need focus, you need concentration, then peace comes, and then happiness comes. So if you don't follow what he's saying, then all these things will come. So he's talking about how the distraction happens, right? So in verse 66, if we just round about, just finish it. So it goes from focus to concentration to peace and to happiness, right? So let's move on to the next one, which is verse 67. Yeah. And are you ready, Nishi, to read 67? Okay, everybody's book is open. Let's read 67.
Indriyanam hikaratam
Indriyanam charatam
yanmano nuvidiyati
yanmano nuvidiyate
tad asya harati
pragnam. Yeah, right. You were right. Tadasya harati pragnam
Vayurnavam ivabhasi
Vayurnavam ivabhasi. Good job, Nishi. Okay, all together. Indriyanam charatam yanam vidayate tadasya harati pragnam Vayurnavam ivabhasi. Okay. In this, actually, God gave a good example. He explained with an example what's going on here. So he says the five senses. So we talk about those senses, and we said those five senses, the five sense organ follows the object, right? The mind follows. Then what happens is when the five sense organ follows the object, the mind follows the five sense organ, right? The mind actually follows the object, right? So mind get into the object. Now intellect, in the initial class we talk about it a lot. Intellect get very few seconds to respond, right? It's very few seconds that the intellect respond to it. So five senses follows the object that he wants, that he desires, and then those minds start following that. So when we talk about, oh my God, I love this cookie to eat, right? Then my mind keep thinking about that cookie all the time, right? So it was my mind who actually got connected with that cookie and started following the object, which is cookie here, right? So we started following the object. Now what happens is the mind follows the object. First, it started with the sense organ following the object, then mind follows the object, then intellect follows the mind, and then made the decision, right? That's how the decision is being made. Now, God is saying that it is similar to the boat that is in the ocean, how the wind swats the boat away, depending on the wind the boat goes, the same way if our sense organs and mind swaps our boat away, like us away, in making any decisions the way they want it to go, right? So it is very simple example, but you understand that, you need to understand that, let's say a boat, there is a boat. I hope I will know how to make a boat right. Put some water under it. That will give an, okay. So there is a boat here, right? And there is a, what do you say? The sail thing. I should not put this thing. It will show more sailing boat right here. Okay. So what happens is with this, there is, so take it boat as the body, right? The boat is us. The captain of the boat is the intellect, right? And the compass that the captain has to see the direction and move everything and all those things is, let's say that's the spirit, the scriptures, the knowledge that we get, right? So if we look at that, the boat, the ocean is the world. All this ocean is the world, right? The wind is the passion in the mind, right? So the winds that are coming is the passion of our mind, right? And the captain is the intellect. Now what happens is, if you take the boat and the captain, intellect, this captain is not equipped well or doesn't know much, right? And we haven't read the scriptures anymore, right? The scripture is the compass that, you know, the boatman uses to see the direction. So if he doesn't have that, the captain, the intellect, will not work according to anything. So what's going to happen is, this wind that are passing by, that's going to decide the direction of the boat to go. So our passion of mind are the wind. So wherever the wind goes, the boat will go, our body will go, our intellect will go, right? So the wind will decide, the outside wind. The outside wind means the object that our sense organ is dwelling on will decide where to go, right? So if I like the cookie and the cookie is sitting on the table of that dining table outside my room, so what's going to happen is my body will go to that table, because these winds are driving me. My passion of my mind, which is going behind that object, is driving me to go to the table and eat that cookie, right? Now in bigger picture, think about that. So if you have a goal, right? If you keep thinking about that goal, what's going to happen is, the boat will go, your body will go towards that goal, ultimate goal. But if you are not focused, right? If you are not concentrated, if you don't have peace, what's going to happen is, this wind will take you somewhere wherever the objects of your likes and dislikes are, right? So you need to have these likes and dislikes. You have to actually arise from there to take your boat to the right place, right? So if you don't use your intellect, right, the mind, you are not going to be using your mind if you are so focused on your object. Your mind start going following the object too, right? So you cannot distract yourself from that. And that's where, if you don't do it, what's going to happen is, you don't take spiritual guidelines, you don't have compass, you don't have direction. What's going to happen is, you will be mercy of your emotions and feeling, and you're going to fall into your emotions and feeling all the time. And that's how you're going to make your intellect use. Your intellect will depend on your emotions, right? So being mercy on your emotions and your feeling will not always make a right decision. So intellect will not be used in this case. You got it? So sometimes we make a lot of decisions depending on our emotions and feeling, which is not correct, because we are actually fallen into the situational thing. And we already talk about that situation doesn't give sorrow and happiness. So we should not follow into the situation when we make the decision, right? So that's how it goes. The example is given by Krishna Bhagavan is to make sure that we understand this whole thing, how to make decision, the right decision in our life, right? Got it? Did you guys understand? You want to do it? So, okay. So that's the example given. Let me see if I missed anything in this example. That's it. So the mind draws by the senses, takes you away, and the intellect cannot make their own decision because the intellect will go follow the object, because mind following the object, because the sense organ following the object. And that's how the decision will be made, depending based on the object, not based on what you want to achieve, right? So the whole life will be driven by outside object, not inside you, what you are, right? So if I have a strong likes and dislike, all my decision will be based on the object outside my body, right? Not the thing, that the peace that I can get inside myself. That's how it's going to go. Okay? So we're going to end with this. So we only did 2 shlokas today. I was thinking we will do 3. I'm always ambitious, more and more ambitious that we will finish more shlokas, but I always be done with 1 or 2, less than what I think. But we will carry on next week, and we'll start with verse 68. Nishi, you want to continue with 68 and 69?
Sure.
Oh, I didn't give you a chance to say no, right? Okay, so we will continue from 68. Let's close it. Vasudeva sutam devam kamshacharunamadhanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadguru Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Para Brahma Tasmai Shri Guru Namah. Thank you guys for coming. See you next week.